Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad that you're with us to stay curious today. We have got a potpourri of events happening, some that happened a little bit in the past. We're going to talk about a Shuttle Hubble mission, and we're going to talk about some wonders of the Webb telescope. And I'm going to take you outside your backyard at the end of Stay Curious so you can look up and marvel at our night sky a little bit here, as hopefully it's warming up, not too cold where you're at. We know the Northeast is getting hit with a little bit of snow. Talked to our good friend Tom Usiak and Marty. He had a little bit of snow on his driveway today, and we're going to see some of his shuttle pictures from decades ago. That's my way of saying hi to Marty Winkle, my co-producer here on our UCX family microphone. Marty, who'd you see out to Space Center today?
Well, we saw a Canadian NASA astronaut, Bob
Thirsk. Yeah.
I stumbled with that one.
Yeah, help you there a little bit. We're both senior citizens. We have our moments. We own them completely. Okay, so yeah, Bob Thirsk is quite an educated person, is he? He's got great talks there. You're looking at some anomaly on our. Okay, good. Marty checking over there, making sure we are going out on our Streamlabs setup here on YouTube, and of course it is pops up on Facebook, and that's how you find us on YouTube. Like Christopher Mick, glad that you are out there doing your thing in Hudson, Wisconsin. I saw Christopher Mick in I can't remember exactly. I think he was in Johnson Space Center at their control center there. I want to say hi to Cliff Watson in Pomona, Australia. Cliffy, hope you're feeling better. He said he had a minor operation just recently, and he gave us some money on your thanks up there and on your YouTube thanks. That heart and thanks button, $ with a little heart on it, that doesn't pop up live. You go back and look at any of the programs that we've aired, and I believe we have over 600 of them on YouTube because Marty, incredibly, this is our 990th episode of Stay Curious. Today, February 13th, 2024. Who'd have thunk it? We thought we were doing great at 100. Yes, Marty, a comment or question
Yeah,
there?
I just have a comment, Mark. I forgot to tell you, but I'd like to mention and say hello to Tammy Miller. Tammy had a little accident at home today. Hope she's doing a whole lot better at this
Oh
time.
no, Tammy. Okay, didn't tell me that. We hope to see Tammy and some of our friends this weekend. We'll have a slide for that here in a minute. So get well, Tammy. She is one of the autograph seekers out there. It's a fun thing to do to these astronauts to get to know you on that level, isn't it, Marty? Some of them come every quarter, or at least 2 or 3 times a year, and we look forward to seeing them. And we've kind of become a home away from home for a couple of them. They can get away and go out. We take them out to dinner, and a few of them we get on our Stay Curious show. Like just recently, we had Charlie Walker on there. Go back and look at Charlie's show. He talks all about, not so much about his missions. We did that last year in February when he was here, but he loves talking about the Association of Space Explorers with 611 humans, members of that club. And how do you join? You have to orbit the Earth one time. And so 611 space travelers have done that in all eternity. And as I paraphrase our good friend Hugh Harris, he passed away, Marty, a year ago today. And I'll throw up some slides of him tomorrow. We miss him dearly. Here's our Space View Park there. I'm going to show you, like, I wanted to purposely show it like that to give a good panorama of Space View Park and the Shuttle Monument there at night. Threw a wild and crazy crosshair filter on my camera there to get that effect. And the pylon in front of you right here, this has names of space workers on it that paid us $100 to be immortalized, basically, out there. And the shuttle has 5 panels around it talking about some aspect of the shuttle processing and representing each orbiter on that, of the 5 orbiters. So what was that? Sandmeyer Stainless Steel in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area. We thank you for 10 years ago donating that shuttle beautiful, iconic image up there. I believe it's 9 years last month. GoHistoryTravel.org. Check them out. Check them out on Facebook. So they support and preserve history. Who are they? These fine folks here, left to right. There is Rama, his wife Mal, and their son Bharat. And Marty, they sent $1,000 to our museum today to help support our efforts here at this museum. There they are when they gave us $1,000 check about 6 months ago. So God bless you folks. We really appreciate any amount of money from $20 to a significant donation like this. And they really don't want anything from it, but they're going to get a little bit of publicity about their Go History Travel. They go all over the world, and particularly Bharat, their son, has unique things and stories to tell. And they're not really a tourist, quote, approach to everything. It's more like a, not like a tourist, what am I saying, tourist agents. They just regular folks going to these places. So they love our museum, and we certainly love them for their contribution here to the American Space Museum. That's Bharat, his mom Mal, and Rama there on the right. And so thank you all for your support. And yes, we do need your support to keep our nonprofit open, like Lake County Spaceport also gave us a healthy donation. That is Steve Jokums. Hi, Steve. I know you're watching. He'll be at Shuttle Fest, Marty. We'll get to shake hands with Steve personally. Ad Astra Formier, that's modeling. And Steve's business up there in Lake Michigan of Illinois is modeling and decals for models. You don't want to paint those. How on earth can you paint solar panels on the International Space Station? He has a decal for that. Steve Jokums. Go to Lake County Spaceport if you're a modeler, and you'll be happy with what you see there. And if you want to buy some swag or an autograph or something that maybe flew around the moon like a flag, American flag, come to our space memorabilia show this Saturday, 9 to 3, Beachside Hotel, a great partner of the American Space Museum. They're on Cocoa Beach, right beside Ron John's, across from IHOP on A1A. Ken Havicott will be there giving free appraisals with Chuck Jeffrey, our museum collections expert. Admission is a $10 donation. We're going to have some fun with a duck race and raffle. And I always am about the fellowship, everybody knows. So if you want to get in on the tables, we still got $40 tables available. But you're going to see some, we've already got about 10 vendors signed up that have a potpourri of things and we'll talk more about that on Thursday and Friday this week. Well, this is the attention of the hour, a Falcon 9 rocket. Within that fairing is a spacecraft that is headed to land on the moon in this beautiful shot that SpaceX posted from last night. There was a crescent moon up in the sky. I'm going to call it a 3-day-old moon, and you're going to learn to talk like an astronomer about how old the moon is here in a few minutes. But very exciting that a private company called Intuitive Machines out of Houston, Texas, is going to land this lander. It's about 9 feet tall. I think it's under 10 feet tall. On the moon on February 22nd, I think, and about 9-day journey to the moon. It's taken a circuitous route, not directly to it, but using more energy off the Earth's spin to get it up there. And it has ride shares. That's a fancy word for paid for payloads. And one of those paid for payloads is from our friend, Chris Stott, who has his company, Lone Star, out of Houston, Texas, has a ride share on there that's a hard drive. And his company wants to save Earth's data 1 byte at a time. And his company's called Lone Star. This was our interview with Chris Stott. I believe it was November 18th. Well, yeah, it was that busy November 18th, Marty. And while we were talking to him, his wife, Nicole Stott, astronaut, was signing her beautiful book. And so we want to give a shout out to them for supporting our museum And Chris, good luck to you. Our fingers are crossed that the lander makes it. It was called Nova C for a long time, and now they've given it a name, Odyssey. So we hope that Odyssey completes its mission, but it is not easy. So not only are my fingers crossed, my friend, but my toes are also crossed. That launches tonight at, there is a artist conception of the Odyssey on the moon. It's going to land at the southern hemisphere of the moon where all the action is for the buried water. The launch is right before 1 o'clock. I think it's 12:54 or something like that. And a bunch of us, including Bill Whiting watching, Connie McDaniel's watching today. It was, who else was going out there? Marty, I know you weren't going out there, but National Space Society has a wonderful event that we're going to meet for a meet and greet at the Hilton on Cocoa Beach, and then by our own vehicles, get out to Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex before 11 o'clock to ride a bus to go out to the Saturn V and be VIP'd out there to watch the launch, Marty. I've never seen a launch from the grandstands there at the Saturn V rocket, so I'm sure I'll be excited about that. And a little bit tired. I stay up till about midnight. That's going to be a little bit past my bedtime, but well worth losing some sleep over. We watched this rocket go to the moon. Now, just to emphasize, this is not easy. This is hard. Oops, thank you, Marty. We're clicking our numbers there. This is the Peregrine intended moon lander that had a fatal flaw where a fuel line ruptured, buckling the side of it. This is a GoPro shot of it. And it landed in the Pacific Ocean near the Tonga Islands there in that red bullseye map there that was superimposed over this live shot. So that was a sad thing, though the ride shares above it did energize and worked. They didn't get to work on the surface of the moon, including a couple mini rovers. Here is this cherished area of the moon. We'll be talking about it more, but the Artemis 2 mission that's going to wave at the moon from 4,000 miles away with 4 astronauts. That's not intended to launch until September 2025, according to astronaut wrangler Nick Thomas, who we had on yesterday. Check out Nick's wonderful question and answer show if you missed it. The areas in the blue are 13 areas that have been designated by NASA and other lunar scientists as areas where we want to land the Artemis 3 mission. Now, the South Pole is, there's an arrow there in the middle. All of these craters that are covered with shadow never get light at the bottom of those. That's where we know ice is buried underneath the lunar soil called regolith. Well, one of these areas, Shackleton, there in the middle, that's talked a lot about as a landing point because Shackleton was named after a South Pole explorer. But right there in the front there, they got the Earth. Why do they have the Earth at the bottom? I'm trying to figure that out. Maybe that's the direction of the Earth from this shot. But Malapert, there at the bottom, Malapert. Right there, Malapert 1. That is where this Odyssey is good. That's launching tonight is supposed to land somewhere in there on the side of that high ridge called Malapert. Things don't go as well. What's this? This is the crater caused by Russia's failed attempt last in December or November, forget which. That's the crater impact of Luna 25 that had an anomaly. Its altimeter gave a wrong reading. They had a mess up in the computer. And it thought it was higher up than it was supposed to be and used more thrust power that used it up and it crashed. You can see kind of a spray from that where the arrow's pointing is the impact crater taken by NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, a fabulous array of cameras that it goes and finds things that hit the moon, including all the Apollo landing sites and the successes as well as the failures like this. What's this on the moon? Just a month ago, Japanese agency, Japan's space agency, JAXA, landed on the moon upside down. It was supposed to be horizontal, but something happened, and maybe a gust of wind up there. Silly, there's no wind on the moon. Uh, but it landed like that instead of horizontal on its side. Still gave off data and pictures. And this is taken. Well, who took this picture, Marty? Did it have a person on it? No, it didn't. It had a little softball size Transformers. Is the company that made those Transformer toys, where a car can turn into a robot. Well, that's what this is, a ball that had cameras on it that were thrown out right before impact and took this incredible picture by the Japanese agency. They got data until the lunar night descended. Of course, you're only going to get at the most 14 days of daylight on the moon. And then it rotates around the Earth, revolves around the Earth, and the backside gets light. There is no dark side of the moon, okay? There's just a backside, and it gets bright in midday, just like our full moon. Also, we had India land on the moon just in the last 3 months. This is an amazing lunar invasion from Earth, okay, by robots. Here is the incredible India, on their second attempt, landed this spacecraft that was sort of their home base and had a lot of scientific instruments on it. And on that ramp on the right-hand side was this rover, all right, that lasted about a week on the moon, roving around about the size of a TV tray table type of thing, would sit easily on your bed. And it took off and took pictures and roved around after the successful landing of India, the fifth nation to land on the moon after the U.S., Russia, JAXA, India, and China. And I don't have a picture of the Chinese landing. That was a year ago. They also landed a rover on the backside of the moon. So, big doings on the moon there, Marty. And we're going to look up, and the moon is right near the planet Jupiter the next couple days in a crescent phase. And we're going to end our Stay Curious program with a little bit of star lunar crazy, I guess, or curious. Here we'll do a little astronomy at the end. But first, let's talk about a great shuttle mission. We've got 11 fabulous shuttle missions in the month of February. There's the insignias for them all. Every orbiter, all 5 of them flew, just one time for orbital OV-102, which is Columbia, and OV-099, which was Challenger. But 103, Discovery, flew 4 times. 104, Endeavour, flew 3 times. And 104, Atlantis, flew 3 times. And Endeavour, 2 times. 106 days these shuttles spent in space, 67 people represented by those patches. Janice Voss, who is deceased, she flew twice in the month of February. These missions include 41B up there, the first untethered spacewalk in the history of mankind. The first Mir Rendezvous, 63 there, where the first female pilot, Eileen Collins, and her commander, Jim Weatherby, circled around testing out the rendezvous techniques before we docked on the next time we went up there to drop off and exchange astronauts on the Mir. And it was the last International Space Station hardware put up there. 130 in the middle there to the left, that represents the cupola, the design of that patch, and that was taken up. And the second Hubble repair mission. 90 was the first mission to take it up. In 1990 was 31. I forget the number that went up to fix the mirror. But then STS-82, launched on February 11th, went up to do a serious upgrade to the Hubble. And we're going to talk about that mission. Wait, I didn't pull the patch. Yeah, I did. I've got the patch at the end, and we'll talk about the patch in the middle in a minute here, as we brag about our partners, our wonderful photography friends. This is Mark getting the walkout of the crew. That's Ken Bowersox, making a great expression there. Sox is well known in the astronaut community. His fourth of 5 flights. He was a commander 3 times, a pilot 3 times. Scott Horowitz has got the mustache behind him. This was Scott's second of 4th mission. Twice a pilot, he would become twice a commander. Then you've got, let's see, I think I got another picture. Yeah, I'm going to point out the crew later. But you got Mark Lee, Steve Hawley, Greg Harbaugh, Steve Smith, and Joe Tanner on board. All experienced crew, 4 of the astronauts making their 4th trip to space, and 3 of them making their 2nd trip to space. The blast off in the middle of the night. What time of the night was that? Well, that was 3:55 a.m. on February 11th, and that's a Hasselblad camera shot from Mark Usiak and his team. Included Steve Nolte, helping him with the gear there. And Bob Preston may have been involved in that. Don't know if little brother Mark was there, but Mark Usiak I'm talking about. But that was the 4 gentlemen that put together a team for over 60 launches there. Great night shot there. Always questionable how to set the f-stop on these things to overexpose the bright SRBs. Love that cloud catching the light on the left there, Tom. And the payload that they were going to help upgrade was this. Carlton Bailey took this picture a couple decades ago. Well, actually, it has to be almost over 3 decades ago for sure, as we're looking at the 30th anniversary of the Hubble deployed in 2020. 1990s when it was deployed, so we're looking at 35 years coming up. Anyway, CB was in a white room somewhere, maybe in Maryland, I'll bet that was, where he took the picture there. Love the scaffolding around it there, just everyday scaffolding. It was mothballed for a while because of different anomalies going on not launched in 1990, none more important than the Challenger disaster in 86. And look at these SSMEs, Marty. Your main engines there on fire. Marty not only worked on the lunar module for Grumman, but he worked many years on he worked the entire 30-year history of the shuttle era. And there's the SSMEs that you were part of. Marty was a launch process service manager. Just a great shot there of Discovery taking off. Those burned for about 6.5 seconds, and then make sure everything was fine, and then the SRBs lit, and there was no turning back. Well, we got them up in space. Let's look at those wonderful astronauts. Their job up there was to give the Hubble telescope more power over 4 spacewalks. You've got there, let's see, Joe Tanner there's on the left, and they're wearing T-shirts of pictures that the Hubble took in space, all right? And these are that's the Cat's Eye Nebula Joe's wearing there. They all got Hubble T-shirts there. More power. So let's see. Behind Joe, putting his arms on the other fella, that's Steve Hawley, his 4th of 5th flights. You've got, that's Mark Lee. Mark Lee right there in front with the more power, his commander. That was Mark Lee's 4th and last flight. Very experienced astronaut. We've met him several times out at the Space Center doing autographs. Ken Bowersox there, the commander, his 4th of 5th flights. Behind him is Steve Smith, and going to do a couple spacewalks. You got the pilot, Scott Horowitz, and then on the far right, Gregory Harbaugh there. So I'm going to say that's Harbaugh. I'm mixed up. That's Mark Lee right there. And Harbaugh's over there above the more power. Handy to have duct tape around and a bunch of charts that look like that they taped together to make that impromptu sign, because during the EVAs they serviced the most wonderful telescope to ever be put up before the Webb, of course. So it was a great mission. Replacing the solar arrays. They replaced the magnometer covers, thermal blankets over areas, upgraded some of the science on it to increase the the directional pointing of it and so forth. And there is the patch. And you all know I love artwork and the patch, and this is my go-to for the patch, mission patch book. And let's just look at what this patch means that you might not have thought about. The STS-82 is the second mission to service the Hubble Space Telescope. All right. The first one repaired it, basically. The central feature of the patch is the Hubble telescope itself, as the crew will see it through Discovery's overhead windows as the orbiter approaches for rendezvous, retrieval, and subsequent extravehicular activity servicing tasks. The HST is pointing towards deep space, observing the cosmos. The spiral galaxies symbolize one of Hubble Space Telescope's important scientific missions to accurately determine the cosmic distance scale. To the right of HST is a cross-like structure known as a gravitational lens. That's the yellow star with the dots, blue dots. That's something discovered. One of the fundamental discoveries made by the Hubble telescope was galaxies behind galaxies mirrored around it, and bending the light around and showing it at 4 different areas. And Einstein predicted that, the great Albert Einstein, in 1910 type of time frame. 100 years later, the Hubble proved that he was right. Less than 100 years, of course. The names of the crew members are arranged around the perimeter of the patch, with the EVA crew members placed in the upper semicircle and the orbiter crew on the lower. Okay, so you got Smith, Tanner, Lee, and Harbaugh were spacewalkers. Now, just don't get excited, Dave Stange up there in Michigan, or Chris Calley. That was not a Harbaugh from the University of Michigan, okay? Not at all. So, a beautiful 10-day mission. They actually landed at Kennedy Space Center. And there are the EVAs out there doing their thing in the payload bay. We love those beautiful pictures of the Earth in the background, that thin blue line, the only border that should ever matter. And there's a streak shot that I'd say Carlton took. Bailey probably took that shot from Kennedy Space Center there with the countdown clock and the flag there. And these streak shots, we call them a streak shot like that. They look, you can't tell what it is, although those would be solid rocket boosters. But there's a streak shot from my backyard of a Falcon 9 rocket a while back. Don't know even when I took that thing, all right? But a streak is a streak is a streak, okay? But unless you know what they are or put them on there, or put the name on the picture, they look pretty much the same. Another gorgeous picture of the Hubble telescope with its new solar panels and looking all polished up. I think Mark Lee went out there and put some car wax on it there to brighten it up there a little bit. We'll ask him about that next time, Marty, if they had to do any polishing up there. There's another shot that Carlton Bailey took of the mighty Hubble Space Telescope. Has completely revolutionized the way astronomers looked at our universe. And then that was followed up by, on the left, the Webb telescope. And there's a lot of news about the Webb that I get every day. And it starts out, astronomers baffled, or astronomers stunned, or astronomers can't believe, or a galaxy should be where it's not, according to the Webb. Every day is some astounding headline that we've learned something that we had no clue about. Not just because of the Webb telescope and its capabilities. Both are different telescopes. They see differently. The Webb telescope is an infrared telescope, so it sees heat and signature radiation. And yes, it's like a police infrared camera, that if a policeman goes by with an infrared camera in your house, he can see who's sitting in what chair and where the cat is and the dog by your heat going through the walls of your home. So think of that, not from a police or Big Brother type standpoint, but how the Webb telescope operates. It can look through gas clouds and see the stars that are being created behind it. Our visually influenced Hubble telescope couldn't do that. But the Webb is also a lot bigger than the Hubble telescope. The Hubble telescope's mirror is one piece of a mirror 9 feet in diameter. The Webb telescope is a configuration of over a dozen mirrors, each 6 feet. And of course, they're in that shape so they could fit together. They were put in the rocket payload bay, the Ares rocket that Europe launched. Not the Ares. What is that? The what? Arian. Thank you, Marty. Arian, yes. One of the last Arian launches was on Christmas Day 3 years ago to launch the Webb telescope. And look at how much bigger it is. That means big is best with telescopes, the light gathering power of it. Light gathering is what it's all about. And then you put a magnifying lens on it to magnify that image. Where the Hubble telescope is orbiting the Earth, the Webb telescope is out past the moon about 1 million miles, 4 times out by the moon, in a place where it stays in that certain area. And that's called the Lagrange point in relationship to the Earth. Though it does go around the sun, it stays in the same point around relation to the Earth. Those are called Lagrange points. There's like 4 sweet spots where the gravity of the Earth and the sun lock, so to speak, the spacecraft in there. That's so we can keep its sensitive and need to be very cold instruments at 300 below zero shielded from the sunlight. And I'm going to show you the big shield on that in a minute. These are some of the portfolio albums now shot of the Webb telescope. This means a lot to astronomers like me, not much to people like you, except they're just beautiful pictures. But for example, this is the famous Crab Nebula, like we've never seen it before. It kind of looked like a crab. This is a star that blew up in 1054 AD. Human beings saw it, right? 1054 AD. You do the math. Over 1,000 years ago, and it shone in the daylight. You can see this, and this is the remnants of that star that blew up in Taurus the Bull. Here is a Hubble image that was called the Pillars of Creation, one of the most publicized photographs of the Hubble era. And this is showing you that, like I said, it can look through the walls and through some of the clouds and see what is beyond on this beautiful shot of the Pillars of Creation taken by the Webb. So we had no clue that these 4 stars were over here on the Hubble telescope. See that? These stars? And look at those stars there. You don't think it's there, but there's a curtain of clouds in this area that is revealed up here. So just spectacular to see the birth of stars and whole exosolar systems, or see stars being born with planets around them. Again, this is the Ring Nebula that is more of like a toilet paper tube that we're seeing through the holes. Instead of looking at it sideways, it's actually more rectangular cylinder. And it's kind of short and stubby. That's why I say toilet paper tube. We're seeing through the whole thing. But on the left is the Hubble. On the right is the Webb telescope. Again, a star that blew up. And just some crazy looking, beautiful photograph of a galaxy. And in the middle of that galaxy where the blue is a black hole. See the little red areas there? This is a young galaxy. The red means stars are being born in nebula, and that shifts to the red side of the nebula. But just an incredible shot there. It looks like something going down a sink drain. And then, of course, these shots are where they took the Hubble and the Webb, pointed them in an area that looked dark, and they see not stars. The only stars here are the ones that have the hexagons. Just like my picture behind me, I put a star filter on my camera to do these star points. And on a Webb telescope or the Hubble, these are actually the crossings of the second mirror that sends the light into instruments there. So everything here is a galaxy. Nothing is a star except it's got crosshairs on it. and there's 1,000 galaxies in there, but several of them, like up in the middle, Marty, you see like a little, look at the star that's got the X's on it in the middle. And then at 2 o'clock from it is a star, and you see kind of a sausage structure laying there. That is a galaxy behind that other galaxy. All right. Those are galaxies are different shapes and sizes, and those circular bright spots are galaxies that are called elliptical galaxies. So all kinds of crazy stuff going on there. This picture alone will probably produce a dozen doctorate degrees from astronomers about what's going on there. We also, with the Webb telescope, can look at planets orbiting other stars. The closest ones, we've discovered over 5,000 planets orbiting the nearest 500 stars. Nearby means within like 1,000 light years. The closest star to Earth is a little over 4 light years from us, meaning the light we see from Alpha Centauri in the southern hemisphere left 4 years ago in the year 2000. Well, this is just a chart to show you that we can see these planets go in front of their parent star, and the light dim, and other all kinds of ways to determine their atmospheres and so forth. We're not seeing yet with the Webb telescope stars or planets, they're globes of them, but we might. Well, let's look at some of the planets of our solar system seen by the Webb telescope. This is the planet Jupiter with, of course, its famous red spot. Again, it's looking at the heat signature of this, looking through the cloud tops that are 200 below zero into the warmer areas below those cloud tops. It's seriously like a very layered onion, Jupiter is. And at the center and core of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune is a rocky core, we think, of some exotic material like metallic hydrogen. There's a picture that we never saw like that of the planet Saturn. There's not much heat emanating off of it like there is on Jupiter. So we know a lot of heat signatured off Jupiter, but not so much on Saturn, on its clouds. But the ring gives off a special radiation. This is the planet Uranus or Uranus. It rolls around, not like a spinning on a top, going around the Earth, the sun, like on a top. It goes around like a bowling ball running down. So these are rings of Uranus that weren't never seen from Earth. Okay, they were hinted at by when it passed in front of a star. We could see it jump up, but in a spectacular picture of the rings of Uranus, again going like a bowling ball down the alley. And this is Neptune. It spins like a top, and it also has rings, all right, that we're seeing in a different way, as well as cloud features on Neptune that we don't see cloud features on Uranus. And we're looking at the North Pole there of Uranus. That's why it looks so bright there. All right, Neptune. Here's what the Webb telescope looks like if you could go up in a starship and get up next to it. And that whole stuff on the bottom is to shield it from the sun, so it stays in darkness. They actually have a few GoPros on that they show pictures of once in a while. But all these layers are all folded out. This whole thing was packed origami style in that Ariane rocket that launched it. So who is the Webb telescope named after? This gentleman, James Webb, the legendary administrator for NASA during the Apollo moon landings. All right, he was the second NASA administrator after Clinton. He was a bit of a politician type of person, is what it took. His main job was to go to Capitol Hill in Congress and say, I need more money. I need more money because this vehicle in my right hand, the Grumman Lunar Module, we have to do this, that, and other to it. We need more money. And that's a classic picture of that, Marty, particularly that size. We've got one just like that sitting in our Apollo gallery there, but it's about 4 feet, about 2 feet high. And up in his left hand, he's holding the lunar orbiter, very important to 5 lunar orbiters that made a map of the moon and where we picked the landing place. So when you hear Webb telescope, it's named after James Webb, the great NASA administrator. He was there till 1968. He wasn't the administrator for the moon landings because he was put in by a Democratic Congress, and a Republican Congress took over. So kind of bittersweet that they didn't keep him around for the landings, but that's okay. He was a great guy to get the money that we needed with Bob Mueller and a bunch of other VIPs of NASA that were so important to sustaining the program and doing those 6 beautiful landings on the moon. And since we're talking about the Webb telescope, we've got to say a rest in peace to Jimmy Buffett. This is Jimmy Buffett at the Webb telescope headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland, there at James Hopkins University, and he was a space geek, and he popped in to check out some of the images himself there. And Jimmy Buffett, of course, died of a type of cancer, I believe, skin cancer, Marty, I think I heard, about a couple months ago. And I think they're renaming A1A Jimmy Buffett Highway. Is that right, Marty? Have you heard that? The legendary only one way to go down to the Key West, and that's A1A. Of course, it extends all the way up here. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to rename that.
Yeah, I haven't heard that, but that's not a surprise.
Yeah, and not a surprise that he loves space. Well, I love space. Let's quickly give you a little bit of backyard astronomy here, as we hope you all love that recap of the moon stuff. Photo of the moon I took the other day. How to talk like an astronomer with the moon. Boy, it was beautiful hanging in the sky last night. And I keep forgetting that we're further south here in Florida. So where I lived 35 years in Tennessee, or up there in Michigan where Dave Stange, our #1 fan, is, it's very low to the southern horizon it can be. But, there's not the moon in our sky. That's the moon and the crescent Earth, as seen, and the crescent moon as seen from Orion, and the successful fly around that we did of that a year ago, November. Uncrewed, of course. Well, how many days old is the moon? Talk like an amateur astronomer. There's actually 29.5 days between the phases as you look at the calendar. But because the moon goes ahead of us 1,000 miles an hour, it laps the Earth in about, and is to return in the same place in the sky is about 28 days. So I know it's a little convoluted there, but it's celestial mechanics. When you see a crescent moon in the sky, we call it 0 is new moon. And 14 days old, or 14 and a half days old, or almost 15, is full moon. So when I say, Marty, it's not going to be very good stargazing tonight because the moon is 15 days old, I'm saying it's the day after full moon. The moonshine hides all but the brightest stars and hides those galaxies and nebula that I like to look. When I say the moon's 21 days old, that's last quarter, all right? And that means the moon's going to rise after midnight. So if I say the moon's, it's 19, 20 days old, that means it'll rise after midnight, and I can do some stargazing and find some of the deep sky galaxies and nebulas on those times. But so we actually call these crescent. Number 3-day-old moon is crescent. 7-day-old moon is a quarter moon. We call the 12-day, 13, 14-day, or 12-day moon gibbous phase. 14-day-old moon is full. Then 17 is back to gibbous. 21 is back to quarter phase. And 25-day is back to crescent phase. So talk like an amateur astronomer. Talk about the moon. Now, the moon is going to be spectacular tonight and tomorrow night. It's Valentine's. Oh, yeah, I'm going to have a Valentine's show tomorrow. All right. But tomorrow night from New York, the moon will look like this, almost first quarter. All right. It's between that crescent phase. And so the moon tomorrow is 6 days old. But if you're in Singapore, you get kind of a different orientation. And then if you're in Sydney or Pomona, where Cliff Watson is, the moon will look a little bit different. And this is because they're actually seeing the moon south is upside down in the southern hemisphere, or Cliff thinks that we're upside down here in the northern hemisphere. But the moon's going to be very close to Jupiter tomorrow. The moon moves its own half a degree an hour. You can cover up the moon with your little finger, all right, no matter what phase it is. I know full moon rising above a building, a trees, a beach. Looks like you could cover it with a softball with your hand extended, but you always can, okay? Cover it with your little finger outstretched. So go out and try that tonight. And the moon moves about your fist to the left every day. That's 10 degrees, your fist is. So it's going to move to the left because it's going 2,200 miles an hour around the Earth, and the Earth is only spinning at 1,100 miles an hour. So it is that fast car on the Daytona 500 racetrack that laps the field every 28 and a half days. Excuse me, a little more astronomy real quick here, as I'm choking to death. Can't be talking about Jupiter without letting you know there's a spacecraft going around Jupiter, all right? And that spacecraft is called Juno, and it is another amazing spacecraft. It's been going around Jupiter for about 3 years. It is the fastest man-made object ever. No, I take that back. It's going pretty doggone fast. The fastest man-made object ever made now is the Parker Solar Probe that can go up to almost 400,000 miles an hour when it's going close to the sun. We'll talk about that another. Stay curious. Juno goes pretty fast too, approaching 100,000 miles an hour. It's in a big elliptical orbit around the moon and Jupiter, and takes these incredible pictures above the cloud tops within 1,000 miles. This looks like a Van Gogh painting. The interaction of these cold cloud tops with the warmth below and what's going on. We see this is a real photograph, folks. This isn't a painting, but here is a photograph combined painting that shows they know that there's lightning going on in these clouds that have a lot of ammonia in them. And lightning and ammonia and hydrogen are all ingredients for life. There could be microbes living in these clouds. This is so incredible to think of how we can go from here to here with real scientific knowledge of what's going on Jupiter. Jupiter also made a close approach of its moon Io, and these are not just little pimples on here. These are volcanoes going on. You don't see any craters on Io. Io is how you spell it. It's the size of our moon. It's the closest moon to Jupiter. Its guts are being ripped outside and like rub your hands together and they start heating up. Well, back and forth, the gravity of Jupiter's turning and churning this small moon, and it's literally pulling its insides out. And that insides is mostly sulfur of these volcanoes there that are being made. This is an astounding photo being taken by Juno. Well, you go out to the night tonight, even though the moon's up there, you're going to see the Pleiades. The moon's not too bright. The Seven Sisters are up there, okay? You've got the V of Taurus the Bull there, and that happened to be Mars a couple years ago in there. So just to show you, to get out and do a little stargazing in the backyard. There's even clouds here in my backyard, and you can see the belt of Orion, the Betelgeuse, the red star of its armpit in the upper left hand. Bellatrix is the upper right hand star. Rigel and Saph are the two knee stars there. And in the middle, the three stars are the belt, and dangling down is the sword where the great nebula of Orion is. So Dave Stange, get out and look at that tonight. Mark Usiak, you can check it out in your own backyard tonight. Understand you had a little snow on the ground there as I talked to your brother Tom. Cynthia Rossi, thank you for watching. Amy Collins, great to see you on board. Here is Orion the Hunter in mythological kind of garb as you would imagine it up there. Doug Forrest, he's got a good imagination. He can see that up there. Carlton Bailey, thank you for sharing your pictures with us today. I appreciate that. There's a fancy shot again. Star filters can really enhance your view of things up there. But if we could see Orion with the eyes of the gas and everything that's really it's embedded in, it would look like this incredibly All right. Matt Harbison in Chattanooga, Tennessee, a friend of mine, spent years taking this. This is made up of thousands of images put together, not just one picture layered. There's a gigantic cloud of hydrogen that Orion is embedded in. All right. And you don't see that, but you can imagine that you do see this. Our universe is truly, truly amazing. Right, Bill Whiting? And we're glad that Buffy Skins is watching today, too. So there's your episode 990 in the bank. We're counting down 10 episodes, which put us at about February 27th to do our 1000th show. And though that might be the day to do it, I think we'll celebrate it on Leap Day, February 29th, with a special program. But 10 official day, more episodes till we hit 1,000. Marty and I can't believe it, but it's all because of you out there wanting to stay curious. And we couldn't be happier at the American Space Museum, our board of directors, and our executive director, Karan Conklin, all looking at Stay Curious as a way to not only outreach everybody, but to financially support our museum. And we're making $7.50 a month, Marty. So a little more, we can buy 2 cups of coffee, one for you and one for me. We'll arm wrestle who gets the cup of coffee this month, buddy. But no, we're grateful that you all enjoy this. And please tell your friends that this is where you're going to get space history, space knowledge, and current events like we feel only we can dish it out. So until tomorrow, when our hearts are going to be big, as we're going to be talking celestial wonders of romance just for you on Valentine's Day tomorrow. So please join us. I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you personally in our museum to shake your hand and bridge the space between us. Thanks a lot and stay curious.